Welcome back, viewers. Today, we're delving into the darker side of education as we explore the top 10 worst school punishments from around the world. Brace yourselves, as some of these might shock you. School is supposed to be a place of learning and growth, but in some corners of the globe, it can also be a place of harsh discipline and severe punishments. Let's begin our journey with 1. Caning in Singapore. In Singapore, caning stands as a formidable disciplinary measure, reserved for serious transgressions such as vandalism, bullying, or cheating. This practice entails administering strikes with a rattan cane on the buttocks of the offending student. The physical pain inflicted by caning is considerable, often leaving lasting marks and scars. Beyond the immediate physical discomfort, the psychological impact is profound, instilling fear and humiliation in those subjected to it. Caning serves not only as a punishment for the individual student, but also as a deterrent for others, contributing to a culture of strict discipline within Singaporean schools. Despite facing criticism and calls for reform from international human rights groups, caning remains legal and widely practiced in Singaporean educational institutions, reflecting deeply entrenched cultural attitudes towards discipline and authority. 2. Standing in the sun in India. In certain regions of India, particularly in rural areas, a punitive measure involves making students stand under the scorching sun for extended periods. This punishment is often meted out for relatively minor infractions, such as tardiness or incomplete homework assignments. The intense heat and prolonged exposure to sunlight not only cause physical discomfort but also pose significant health risks, including sunburns, dehydration, and heat stroke. Moreover, standing in the sun can lead to long-term skin damage and increase the risk of developing skin cancer later in life. Beyond the immediate physical effects, this form of punishment can also have detrimental psychological consequences as students experience feelings of helplessness. 3. Writing lines in the UK. A prevalent disciplinary tactic in British schools is the practice of writing lines as punishment for misbehavior. Students are required to repeatedly write a specified phrase or sentence, often related to their offense, as a means of reprimand. While seemingly innocuous, this task can be mentally taxing and demoralizing for students. The monotony of writing lines for an extended period can lead to feelings of frustration and disengagement from the learning process. Additionally, this form of punishment may not effectively address the underlying issues contributing to the student's behavior, instead focusing solely on punitive measures. Critics argue that it fails to promote positive behavior change and may even exacerbate feelings of resentment towards authority figures. As educational approaches evolve, there is a growing recognition of the need for more constructive and empathetic disciplinary strategies in schools. 4. Knuckle wrapping in China. In traditional Chinese schools, knuckle wrapping is a disciplinary practice used to reprimand students for various infractions. Typically administered with a ruler or bamboo stick, this punishment involves striking the knuckles of the offending student. The physical pain inflicted by knuckle wrapping can be significant, often leaving bruises and soreness. 5. Kneeling on grit in the Philippines. In the Philippines, a common form of punishment in schools involves making students kneel on grains of salt or pieces of gravel for extended periods. This practice is often employed for minor infractions, such as talking back to teachers or failing to complete assignments. Kneeling on grit not only causes physical discomfort, but also serves as a public humiliation tactic, as other students and teachers witness the punishment. The psychological impact of this form of discipline can be profound, leading to feelings of shame, embarrassment, and resentment towards authority figures. Moreover, there are potential health risks associated with prolonged kneeling on hard surfaces, including skin abrasions, joint pain, and circulation issues. Despite growing criticism of its effectiveness and ethical implications, kneeling on grit remains a prevalent disciplinary measure in some Philippine schools, highlighting the need for more humane and constructive approaches to behavior management. 6. Paddling in the United States. In certain states within the United States, particularly in the southern region, corporal punishment in the form of paddling is still legal in schools. This practice involves striking students on the buttocks with a wooden paddle as a disciplinary measure for various infractions. Despite ongoing debates about its effectiveness and ethical implications, paddling persists in some schools as a means of maintaining discipline. Advocates argue that it serves as a deterrent for misbehavior and promotes respect for authority, while opponents raise concerns about its potential for physical and psychological harm. Research suggests that corporal punishment can have long-lasting negative effects on students' mental health and academic performance. Additionally, there are disparities in its application, with marginalized and minority students disproportionately subjected to paddling. As school discipline discussions continue, there is a growing call for alternative approaches that prioritize positive behavior, reinforcement, and student well-being. 7. Standing in the corner in Russia. In Russian schools, a common disciplinary tactic involves making students stand facing the corner of the classroom for extended periods. This form of punishment is often used for minor infractions, such as talking out of turn or disruptive behavior. By isolating students from the rest of the class, standing in the corner aims to instill a sense of shame and encourage conformity to school rules. However, this practice can have detrimental effects on students' self-esteem and emotional well-being. The experience of being publicly singled out and humiliated can lead to feelings of resentment towards authority figures and a disengagement from the learning process. Critics argue that standing in the corner fails to address the root causes of misbehavior and may exacerbate feelings of alienation and defiance among students. As educators strive to create more supportive and inclusive learning environments, there is a growing recognition of the need for alternative disciplinary strategies that prioritize empathy and positive reinforcement. 8. Running laps in Japan. In Japanese schools, physical activity is sometimes used as a form of punishment for students who misbehave. One common disciplinary measure involves requiring students to run multiple laps around the school grounds. While promoting physical fitness, this punishment can also be demoralizing and exhausting for students, especially if they are forced to run in inclement weather conditions or during physical education classes. 9. Writing with left hand in Saudi Arabia. In some schools in Saudi Arabia, a peculiar form of punishment revolves around the cultural taboo associated with the left hand. Students who naturally favor their left hand for writing or other tasks may be forced to use their right hand instead. This practice stems from traditional beliefs that consider the left hand unclean. 10. Public humiliation in South Korea. In South Korean schools, public humiliation is occasionally employed as a disciplinary tactic. Students who violate school rules may be subjected to various forms of public shaming, including wearing a sign indicating their offense, kneeling in front of the class, or receiving verbal reprimands from teachers in front of their peers. Thank you for joining us today. Remember to subscribe for more thought-provoking content, and until next time, stay curious and stay compassionate.